The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from the state of Wyoming, Ms. Hageman.
Oh, dear. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you? Hi, you're watching House Parks Mega Worldwide. That was Lee Stefanik, and then a mild slice of sanity following that. And now, I think this is our first since the debate between Liz Cheney and the two nudniks from Wyoming that she ran against, that we're going to see Harriet Hageman in action. Now, I would like to say right out of the gate, I have no proof that this is not George Santos all dressed up. I cannot promise that in any way, and even if he said it wasn't, I don't think we can believe him. But I look forward to, I guess this might be the Whitman sampler of cuckoo that we will get to experience as Harriet Hageman, the single representative from the state of Wyoming. Here we go. This is lock in. Oh boy. I don't even know what, watch her be incredibly professional all of a sudden. It'll be great. Wouldn't it be wonderful if she just turned on them and went, look, I don't think this is reasonable. Obviously, no one went after her. It's like she just totally flipped the fucking script and everybody's like, Liz Cheney's controlling her.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan.
You can pronounce it Jordan. I do.
It is a privilege to serve on this select subcommittee, and I look forward to the work we have ahead of us.
Well, then get at it.
After over 30 years as a water, natural resource, and constitutional attorney, I have seen firsthand and fought against the weaponization of the federal government against my fellow Wyoming citizens. And
yes, I think that's what we've all come to know, the great outcry from the people of Wyoming about how little resources they get from the federal government, considering they have NORAD bases and oil and gas fields and like 3 towns. And hold on one second. I have to do this.
Found from Wikipedia, the United States Census Bureau estimates the population of Wyoming was 578,759 in 2019. The center of population of Wyoming is in Natrona County. For more, say open this on iPhone.
Yeah, 500 and some odd thousand, 579,000 fucking people in the whole state. Calm the fuck down.
in the country at large. Through the testimony of our witnesses today and the points made by my colleagues, it is clear that the culture and mission of the FBI and DOJ has changed in a manner which runs counter to the rights and liberties of the American people.
Oh, so we're just going back to the days of Hoover then? Cool. It's like we've come full circle.
The purpose of government is to secure
the rights and liberties of the American people, the Constitution. I'm going to hit them with a big chunk of Constitution right out of the gate.
Natural rights. Yet the
well, and a couple of unnatural ones, I would like to say, if I may, because, again, we're not here to yuck anybody's yum. We're America.
The testimony we have heard and the information received from the whistleblowers and other investigative findings has shown that the FBI's mission has moved from securing those rights to using them as a predicate for investigating and surveilling the American people.
Okay, let's think about that for a second. So the FBI now goes to the Constitution and goes, okay, how can we want to attack these people? Boo, Americans. How can we do it? Well, see all these things that are protected that you can't attack them on? Let's use those. Yeah. How stupid? This stupid.
And weaponizing their government structure against them.
So what you're saying is they're weaponizing the structure of the government. The DOJ and the FBI are being weaponized against. There's weaponization against this. It's great. It's like the committee's work is already done.
Mr. Baker, in a Wall Street Journal piece you wrote titled "The FBI Needs a Ray of Courage," you stated that in response to...
Was that a Christopher Wray reference? like a WRAY, you, oh.
Attorney General Garland's memoranda directing the targeting of American parents.
Yes, that was right. With a Jewish space laser, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I almost got a vasectomy just in case maybe it would get me off the parents all over the country were putting their kids up for adoption. And the only people that would adopt kids were people who had a giant reflective mirrored roof.
Director Wray should respond by highlighting that the FBI won't undertake any investigation based on speech alone.
Why? It's obvious they aren't. Is that how they first, there's so many fucking things. First of all, these motherfuckers hate Miranda. They hate the idea that cops have to tell you what your rights are when you get arrested. That bugs the fuck out of them. But now what they want the FBI to do is fucking basically start their day by Mirandizing the United States about what isn't illegal. Name all the shit that isn't illegal. Then go to work. Great, okay. When do we go to work? In about 17 years when we're done reading the list.
It is troubling that that statement would even need to be made.
It doesn't need to be made, you dipshit. It doesn't. It's fucking idiotic that anybody... It's stupid that he thought he should write it down. It's stupid that you're reading it. It's fucking idiotic. Good Lord. Oh, thanks, Sasha.
Mr. Baker.
I've had this jacket for a long time. I was trying to find more jackets that I have in storage that I can wear on the show that where you can see my hair when it's down. So I literally put this on to see if it fit still, and it does. Thanks very much. Even though my shoulders have gotten bigger.
Do you think your advice was heeded by Director Wray?
No, of course not. Have you not seen the smoking piles of parents everywhere? Have you not? It's terrible. It's like War of the Worlds.
In fact, I remember that episode quite clearly. I wrote that article in October, just days after the announcement became public, and I was in touch with high executives at the FBI a day or two after that. They assured me that the FBI would maintain the standard of only investigating those situations where there was violence and not investigating free speech. I have to accept the ranking members of the FBI who told me that. However, my article in the Wall Street Journal still stands. We needed, the FBI needed, the American people needed to hear Director Wray say that publicly.
Oh, for fuck's sake. No, they didn't. It was dumb that you called those guys. I bet those fuckers were insulted. Seriously. Can you imagine fucking calling your old, and this is obviously a bad analogy if you're Jim Jordan. Imagine calling your old place of work and just going, hey, I heard you guys are like having an employee night out where you guys are going dancing and stuff like that. And I sure hope you're not going to rape each other. What? Yeah, I mean, I know you guys are going to go out dancing leads to a lot of bad things, according to some people. Some people think it leads to illicit sex, prostitution, drugs, and apparently learning to play the guitar. And, I just want to make sure you guys aren't going to, hello? What kind of a dickhead calls his old place of employment and says something like that?
As other FBI directors have spoke up to previous attorney generals and previous presidents, and he never did.
They didn't have to. Again, what these people want is someone to bat down their conspiracy theory so they don't have to clean up their own fucking mess. Because all right, this is what this is about for these fuckers. This is why they're aggravated as well. Because these motherfuckers said that they were targeting parents just for targeting parents and all this kind of stuff, when in reality, they found themselves, that didn't turn out to be true at all, and they're holding the bag for with all the other parents going, why would you be upset if they tried to stop? That bitch was making bomb threats. This dude tried to stab a principal. That's what they're talking about. Shouldn't we be able to stop that shit? And now what they want is they want Christopher Wray or Merrick Garland or the president to come out and say that's not it, to get the heat off of them for creating this myth in the first place.
Publicly. And the American people needed to hear, we wouldn't be
No, we didn't.
having this discussion today if he clearly stated.
This conversation doesn't need, all right, this is predicated on the idea that this conversation even needs to be had in the first place. It fucking does not. It doesn't. It is literally pointless. This fuck called his old buddies and said, you guys aren't going to just arrest parents willy-nilly, are you? And they went, Tom, what the fuck's the matter with you? Who the fuck? It's Dave. We talk all the time. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you think I would? Of course not. People are doing bomb threats. They're threatening to string people up. They're leaving like hung bodies in effigy on their fucking lawn. That's what we're talking about. The fuck's wrong with you? Why would you even think that about us, asshole? I just, Elise Stefanik won't leave me the fuck alone. So I had to make a phone call or she'll never forgive me. I don't think this. I never would think. I believe you guys. I would never even on my own. But she was asking me to. And so get the fuck out of here.
That we will not investigate speech, we'll only investigate violence.
Right. Why the fuck would they ever want to try and prosecute speech just for the fuck of it? They didn't. They wouldn't. It was never even considered. And again, a bomb threat is not speech. It's not protected speech. It isn't. Now, if the Republicans want to make the case that they believe that bomb threats, threats of murder, as long as they're done between Americans, it is magically legal all of a sudden, then have the fuck at it. Jesus.
We're still waiting for that statement.
No, we're not. No one is waiting for that statement.
Mr. Turley, from what Mr. Baker just said, we have seen two issues stemming from this abuse and change of priorities within the FBI and DOJ. They are either investigating Americans based upon their constitutionally protected rights, or they are flagging lawful action to which they have political objection.
No. No, this was about death threats. That's it. The letter was written because they were dealing with death threats. They called the White House because they were talking to somebody at the national, at the NEA or something like that. And they called them and said, hey, who do we talk to? And they said, well, I can give you Ron Klain's number. And Ron Klain's going to tell you to call the FBI. And you're going to have to write a collective letter to get them to move. It's going to take a lot of people to get them to really focus on this thing, unless you have, because they're going to deal with specific stuff. But if you think it's going to escalate, you got to talk to them and have them look at it, because you're getting, until they act on one of these things, they really can't do anything. But if there's a categorical attempt by a group of people through fucking QAnon threads and Telegram channels to coordinate bomb threats and threats of violence on school boards all over the country, the FBI can be all over that shit, because it's absolutely illegal. What the fuck does this have to do with adult behavior in the world?
In some of your recent writings, you have identified two very important points from the revelation of the FBI Twitter relationship. First, that this relationship is a First Amendment violation, as it constitutes censorship by surrogate or proxy.
No, it doesn't. You know how we know? Yeah, and let me explain to you again what an asshole Jonathan Turley is. The FBI calls and says, hey, this violates your terms of service. You might want to look at this. And, there's... By the way, that's child porn. By the way, that's human trafficking. By the way, we talk about this. We got a list of stuff we send you all the time. And a couple of things in here are, may seem political, but we've been talking to people, and we know that those are foreign accounts. And you might want to know that, because this is a foreign adversary trying to manipulate the electorate through fake accounts on your platform. If you want to look at them and take them down, that'd be great. And Twitter sometimes said yes, sometimes said no, because it was up to them, because they're a private company. Just like if a police officer if you call a police officer to your fucking store because it keeps getting ripped off, and they go, you might want to lock the place when you're not here, and you won't have to call us as much. that is not telling them to shut your business down and lock the doors.
And second, you also are concerned that you don't know what is more menacing, the role the FBI played in Twitter's censorship program.
Menacing. Just big fingers with lines coming out of it and a scowly face. And it's like we're in the Upside Down.
Or its response to the disclosure of that role.
Yes, a menacing response. What? The response where they went, yeah, that was bullshit. Look at the other stuff.
The Constitution is a limited governance document. The First Amendment identified our God-given right to speak freely and imposes restraint that the government shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech.
Yeah, but a lot of things don't qualify as speech. Violent death threats. Also, we don't give the freedom of speech, especially when it comes to our elections and medical information and that kind of stuff, to foreign adversaries, for example. That's pretty natural or whatever. We're not talking about American citizens carrying this stuff, even when it involves a retweet. Secondly, Twitter could go, fuck you, go pound sand, and they did on a bunch of times, so this is worthless.
Mr. Turley, can you explain the implications
No, he cannot.
of the government relying on private industry to circumvent the First Amendment?
Can you, while you're at it, can you explain what it's like if the federal government can force a private company to give accounts to and boost the words of certain users over others? To explain how it is a violation of everyone else on the platform's freedom of speech, that when Trump violates the terms of service, or for that matter, Boebert or MTG does, and they get to stay on the platform when the rest of us fucking plebes would get kicked off, why don't you explain how that's a violation of our freedom of speech? Because we didn't violate the terms of service of the actual private company that we're posting on.
Thank you for that question. The Supreme Court and lower courts have spent a great deal of time trying to define when a relationship with a private party can cross over to a type of agency relationship. And that also applies on the state level through the 14th Amendment. In cases like Page, for example, you have situations where you have a government official who called an employer to say, I don't like what this person said in a public meeting, and that employee was fired. And the court said, you know, that is government action. That is a violation of the First Amendment. One of the things that this subcommittee has to deal.
Excuse me, you just explained why Elon Musk is violating the free speech of people on Twitter because of how he surreptitiously fired people at Twitter when he rolled in because he didn't like what they were saying or their opinions on things, and how they did their job, not that they did their job.
Deal with is that difficult line, and I admit it is difficult.
Not in this case.
But in these Twitter files, there's a very disturbing picture that emerges. You have
Yes. That largely comes from the Trump White House.
regular meetings between the FBI and Twitter. They even offered to give clearances to Twitter officials.
So that they could see the horrible info that they were getting. Look, obviously you're not taking what we're saying seriously. How about we show you the accounts? You guys are tech guys. We'll bring it our tech guys. We'll give you clearance for this, and you guys can look at where these fucking accounts are set up.
You have complaints among Twitter employees that this is overwhelming in terms of the number. And what you really see is how insatiable censorship becomes, that eventually they were doing what appeared to be word searches and just sending all of these postings in for possible action by Twitter. And that included things like jokes and other things that anyone...
Right. Because they're too busy to make the distinction. And also, jokes, I don't know if you know this, Jonathan Turley, are a fantastic backhanded way of giving information to people. It works very well. You can use sarcasm to tell people what you actually want them to do by going, oh, please, don't do that. Nobody likes it when you do that thing. See what I'm saying? And since it's written, and because they're dealing with lots of other shit, and because it's Twitter's fucking company, and they deal with 7 other social media sites on the regular, they send a stack of shit over and let them sort it out. And some of the time they said yes, and some of the time they said no. which is exactly, again, where this whole fucking committee and argument and story and Twitter files and bullshit all dies.
Looking at it would realize that this is not a nefarious Russian operation.
No, you wouldn't. The point, by the way, in flagging those, they could check the account. Some of them were jokes because they were retweeted or carried, but this particular account was hinky because they knew, but they couldn't tell them how they knew. So they're like, maybe look at that one. Maybe look at that account. Why? Just check it out. I mean, use your algorithmic magic and tell me if that looks like a real account to you. A good old-fashioned American account. Joe from Ohio, who oddly has bad grammar and speaks in the exact same as Cyrillic grammar in speak. So to happen in English is not wrong. He loves football and also all American girls, also titties and coffee. And I don't know why, whatever. Anyways, the idea that they would go, yeah, you might want to check that one out. And then they check out these accounts, which, by the way, have no followers and don't follow anybody. But that does not stop you from jumping in threads fucking everywhere. There is, and this is, by the way, part of the deal that I think Elon Musk is trying to remedy without admitting is a problem, which is like how many people you can follow, depends on the height of your account. And by paid accounts or legacy blue accounts, those people will be effectively real accounts and they can track the money on them. So they'll know if they're really Americans or really from Guatemalans or wherever they say they're the fuck from. But in this case, these tiny little accounts, these fuck nothing accounts, which, by the way, that was one of the things about Taibbi's, I forget which fucking Twitter file it was because they're all splattered all over the place. But one of them was, these are tiny accounts that no one would even notice. And why would the FBI pick on these tiny little accounts of these little Americans just trying to say their freedom of speech piece? When in reality, these tiny little bullshit accounts, the whole John with 7 numbers after it bullshit accounts with the old eggs. Remember back in the day when Twitter, until you had a picture, there was an egg there? And now it's just that kind of gray outline person. Or they pick a random fucking, the high-end ones have those like mid-journey fake people now. You can make your own, instead of stealing a picture of somebody that they're going to go reverse Google and find some dude who's been dead for 12 years, you can just make up a fake person and then that's your icon. But even now, they don't even fucking bother. It's just that gray circle with the tiny little, with the multiple numbers, because they're just creating account after account after account. They're not people expressing themselves. They're just blather accounts. And those accounts don't need to follow anybody and don't need to be followed by anybody to jump in Twitter threads and start shit. All they need is a bio that picks one side of the argument or the other side of the argument, and then they just dive in and go, you're a fucking warmonger, or on the other side, your freedom, 2A, freedom of speech shall not be infringed. And they just fucking ping pong back and forth. Some people are running it's almost like sometimes you're like, this seems like a reasonable account. That's because he forgot which one he was typing in and typed his left-wing thing in the right-wing account or the right-wing thing in the left-wing account. All of a sudden you're like, that seems different from what he usually says. That almost makes him sound organic.
So when we talk about surrogate censorship, we're talking about one of the most serious threats against free speech.
No, we're not.
People always say, well, the First Amendment only applies to the government. The First Amendment is not synonymous with free speech. It deals with one problem of free speech. What we're talking about with surrogate censorship is a much greater problem for...
Yeah, but it's not the government's fucking problem. It's between the customer and the service. Sorry, but if you think Twitter is censoring you, get the fuck off Twitter. Go blather someplace else. Start your own website. If Nick Fuentes can do a fucking show from his goddamn mom's basement, you can find someplace where you can type, bigoted bullshit into the fucking social media winds.
Those of us who value free speech is a defining right of this country.
I appreciate that. And one more point.
Appreciate what? That was for the record. I don't know why Turley is on news as a pundit. I mean, I suppose his title is enough to get him here, but get him on there. But let's be abundantly clear. What he just said was nonsense. Not, it's too complicated, a legal theory for me to understand. It's fucking gibberish. He is talking out of his ass, especially as someone who's, as a constitutional conservative who believes that, corporations are people. And if somebody incorporates and they want to set up a company and they're, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but they have a company and they're a news corporation, let's say, and random, and they are absolutely not fair and balanced, but they make their tag fair and balanced, and then they trademark it because a trademark doesn't have to be true. They're allowed to do that. So they're allowed to lie to everyone as long as it's understood as a trademark, because the consumer, the person watching, is supposed to be aware enough, or the responsibility, because it's a trademark, is now on them to assume that it's bullshit to start with, and it's a sales pitch like Coke is life, or you deserve a break today, or whatever the fuck, or snap into a Slim Jim. Like, though, it's on the same level as those things.
People always say, well, the First Amendment only applies to the government. The First Amendment is not synonymous with free speech. It deals with one problem of free speech. What we're talking about with surrogate censorship is a much greater problem for those of us who value free speech as a defining right of this country.
Okay, first of all, go tell Ron DeSantis with his Don't Say Gay bill and his book burning and his taking stuff, insisting that things be taken out of the AP college courses down there that high school students go through. That's surrogate censorship directly by the governor of that state. Turley is not writing, insofar as I know, scathing articles about Ron DeSantis right now. Secondly, if a company, like I said, can sometimes go, yep, that violates our terms of service, thanks for letting us know, and they broom it off because they decided what the standard is for their space, which everyone has the right to do, because I don't think Turley believes in the speech version of squatters' rights. That because everyone has free speech, that also gives them the right to storm into your living room, stand in the middle of it, and yell racist slurs because of the sanctity of the God-given right of speaking. Literally, what he just said is useless drivel. This is the verbal equivalent of spackle. The kind, though, that's been sitting in the closet and you should get a new version, or in the garage, and you should get some new spackle, but you've had it for a while and you're like, oh, I should fix that hole. And you go and you open the spackle up and it's all crusty and dried out. And you're like, oh, I'll try. It's not going to work. And it falls out. It doesn't stick to the wall. You spread it down the wall and it goes, don't ask me how I know this. That is that kind of spackle. It's useless.
I appreciate that. And one more point to make, they also paid
Sorry, the
Twitter millions of
gentlelady's
dollars.
time has expired.
I will yield back.
Thank the gentlelady for
They also paid what?
Millions of
gentlelady's-
dollars.
They also paid for millions of dollars.
I appreciate that. And one more point to make, they also paid
Sorry, the
Twitter millions of
gentlelady's-
dollars.
Oh, they also paid Twitter billions of dollars. Way to get it in under the line, dum-dum. The FBI, last we heard it was $3.2 or $3.4 million. No. Multiple billions, according to the gentle lady from the state of Wyoming. Congratulations, Wyoming. I give you the best among you.
I appreciate that. And one more point to make, they also paid
Sorry, the
Twitter millions of
gentlelady's-
dollars.
There you go. Thanks. I didn't get enough lies in. Sorry, I had one more lie. I was under quota. I thought we all got a pool going in the back. That it was like at least Stefanik's ahead of me now. Motherfucker. Can I reclaim my time? Can I say something about I don't know, adrenochrome, baby sacrifices, Satan at Twitter? No? Okay, shit. All right, well, I yield back the remainder of my time. You have no time remaining. Fuck. This is this is what this shit's gonna be going forward.